I'm Timmy.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Nathan.
And this is Three Old Tech Dudes.
Whether you want it to be or not.
What is this thing here? This is really cool.
So this is
I'm going to go and get the weapon out here.
It's just a riddle, fella.
This is
so tiny.
It is, really. This is the most powerful computer ever made.
Ever?
No.
Oh.
Quite the opposite. This is probably the most simplistic computer ever made. But I tell you what, it is... Well, let's put it this way. They met their goal when they developed this computer.
Buttons? Oh, they're not.
They are membrane switches. So the DX7, which is over there, has the same kind of switches with the little membrane buttons.
Sure,
in here.
yeah.
So this is the Sinclair ZX81. Not the Timex Sinclair 1000, which is actually the same computer. This is an actual US version ZX81 or ZX81. Some fun little backstory to this thing. When I was a kid, this is not the one I had the Timex Sinclair 1000. And I wouldn't call this a powerful computer. It uses the Z80 processor, the Zilog Z80 processor, thus the ZX80. The original one was the ZX80 and the ZX81. Anyway, so it has a whopping massive 2K of RAM in this thing.
Oh, TV.
But
neat.
So most of the computers back then, they could take RAM expansion modules. No one ever bought them for them, but they were so common for this that they literally made them. This is the Sinclair one, and this is actually this one's actually badged as Timex.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Whereas that one's actually badged as Sinclair. So these are the
made in England. This is originally a computer from England.
It is. It was made in England. So the design concept of this kind of is in the same idea as a Raspberry Pi, is the simplest way to build a computer that actually works. And that was really what they did, is they wanted to make a computer that could be affordable to really people that didn't have a lot of extra money. So what they did is they made this computer, and it is very, very simplistic inside. There are basically four chips in that thing.
Wow.
How much would this set a fella back in the day?
Not much. We bought ours when I was a kid for $50.
Yeah.
$50 1980s money, though,
Yeah.
right?
True, but I mean, it's
Originally, the introductory price in
probably
England
pounds,
was £49.95.
Yeah,
And for
England.
the kit, it came in a kit originally, one way, and then you could spend $69.95 assembled.
Yep.
You suppose downtown Julie Brown had one of these?
So I picked this one up about a year ago now, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe less, but I really wanted to be able to show you what this thing is. But it uses the same processor as the TRS-80 models 1, 2, 3, and 4.
The
ZX80.
80.
Yep.
You know what else it drove?
It was also in, I think, the Game Boy, and I think it was in...
It was in the Sega Master System.
Yeah.
It was also the audio coprocessor for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
It also was the processor, the main one, I think, for the Galaga class Namco machines, which
I think
include
you're right.
which includes Pac-Man.
Yeah. So Sinclair Research, Clyde or Clive, anyway, I get that wrong, but who was trying to get a contract with the BBC to build a computer that they could then use to teach computer programming as a broadcast show.
Sure.
Which was a good idea. In fact, that actually did air here, I know, on some PBS stations in the United States. They wound up not using the ZX80, the original one, which became the ZX81.
Right.
They actually used the BBC Micro, which I'm drawing a blank who made that. I'm sorry. I should know that off the top of my head, but I forgot. It's been a while. But I never really actually saw one of those as a kid. Like, they never really were big here. These actually showed up, man. Most of the time, they were literally giveaways for going to, a timeshare demonstration or something. But, yeah, that's just how bad they were. But, so here's the fun thing. There's no video card in that.
Okay.
The processor literally bangs out the entire video.
Yeah.
Its only video card, if you want to call it that, is a shift register in there. It's like an 8-bit shift register.
Yeah.
So every 8 bits, it has to send more data.
Wow.
So think about the way we were talking about in a previous episode now to the way sync pulses work. That's how this worked. And the ZX80 originally could either do video or something else. It could not do it at the same time. So in the ZX81, they introduced slow mode, which literally used video, and then in the blanking pulses, like the Atari 2600, that's when it did everything else.
Right.
There's also no sound in this thing. I mean, none. No beep, no nothing.
We keep calling that processor ZX80, but it's a Z80.
Z80. Yeah. Well, the ZX80, it's the Z80 processor. It's the Zilog Z80 processor.
Yes. I think we did that. We'll find out later.
I don't know. But yeah. It's the Zilog Z80 processor, which was a good processor when it came out. And it still probably would have some use today.
Sure.
If you're trying to do some, some old stuff. The funny thing is, so here's the hilarious thing. So if you look at this thing, these are RAM modules by it. These are actually 16K RAM modules. So without that, this thing is like functionally no RAM.
Right.
It literally has like 2K of RAM. If you start really doing the math, a full screen of text is like almost all the RAM.
Right.
With 16K, this thing actually became somewhat usable. But here's the funny thing. So the earphone mic jack, that's how you actually got stuff into it. You use a tape recorder. And then the power jack, and if you notice, if you look in there, they're all identical. In fact,
sure are.
So this is I have not plugged this in for a while, so it's very dead. But it will go into the ear jack.
Oh, I assume this can cause problems.
It can. If it was plugged in, that would be a bad thing.
Yeah.
But yes, and there's no power button on this thing.
Right.
Not at all. You just plug it in.
Plug it up and go.
The concept for this was build a computer as cheap as physically possible. And honestly, considering the day, this was basically the Raspberry Pi of the day.
Right.
I'd like to know where this thing was in my youth.
Yeah, I don't. I didn't learn about this till I was an adult reading online. Honestly, I'd never seen one.
Yeah. So this is actually my second one. My first one was the Timex Sinclair 1000, which is the same exact unit. They just literally rebadged the plastic. Like it doesn't say ZX81 here. It says up here where it says Sinclair would actually say Timex Sinclair 1000. And you can see a picture of that if you want to, easy enough online. I dropped the mic, that'd be good too. So, but if you open this thing up, there's like nothing in this thing. There's like three chips in this thing. And like this was their second, like I said, the ZX80 was the original one. And it is so comically basic, it's not held together with screws. This one is.
Oh, wow.
But the original one was not even held together with screws. It had no metal shielding. They had like spray painted on like some conductive paint for the metal shielding in those. This one actually has a bit more to it, but
I've seen many pictures of these. I never would have guessed it was this small.
it is tiny.
I thought it was at least twice this size.
So here's a good thing. So bring your camera again. So with the Timex Sinclair 1000, this is an iPhone 11 Pro Max.
Yeah.
So it gives you an idea just how big that is.
And how far technology has come.
Yeah.
all that phone can do.
It is so much. Yeah. So it's just, but the size of that thing, and it weighs nothing.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very simple, but like the one I got came with 2 RAM modules. So what typically happens is because, like if you look in here, it's a card edge. And normally it would be this side internally and then a card edge for plugging something in.
Yeah.
So to save money, they didn't want to put that connector on there. So they actually, from the standpoint of make it as cheap as physically possible, what they did to make this thing work is actually kind of impressive how much and how far they really went with that. More than I would have thought, but it was kind of neat. But So on the biggest problem with these is that the connector on like these modules, for example, would actually start not working. And so if you had this thing plugged in like that, and
if you just lose your RAM, that's a problem.
and you bumped it, it could drop all the memory on you.
Lock it straight up, I'm sure.
So this one's okay tight. I haven't actually tried this one yet, which is funny. That's loose. Yeah, no, that one's probably not going to work. This one should work, but honestly, the biggest thing is you didn't really want to mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you'll also notice that there are like no like ports to plug anything in.
Right.
So once you plug the RAM module in, you literally have nothing. You have the TV output, channel 3, 4. Ear and mic, which is for tape
channel
recorder.
2, 3, like there's
2, 3, yeah. 2, 3, yeah.
Earlier stuff seems to be like that.
Yeah, and then 9 volts DC.
Yep.
But so you can't ever plug like a joystick in?
No. It's meant for learning coding.
They made games for this.
Yeah.
They really did. And some of them were actually impressive
it's
how
not even
far
color,
they could go.
Is it?
No, it is
I
not.
didn't think they were. These are black and white only.
No. Here's the funny thing. It's literally black or white.
Yep.
You get no grayscale.
Yep.
Because it is again, the processor is literally banging out the screen bits.
Yeah.
8 at a time.
What's amazing is, and this is always architecture, in the earlier PC days, it was all about your processor speed and your bus speed. Well, that applies in the old days too. This computer has a 3.25 megahertz processor in it.
Yeah.
Well, you compare that to many of the other 8-bits. You had the Atari that I think is a 1.8 clocked 6502, and the Commodore 64 is less than that. And
I see 64 is only clocked at like 1 megahertz.
Yeah, it's much slower, and it's all due to the architecture of the chips they designed in their boards.
Oh, yeah.
They got to time with everything, and it's really something because, this is a faster processor, but its own architecture may make it slower. I've never used one, so I can't really answer that. So it may seem more responsive even in some ways.
As simple as these things are, if you go in fast mode. So if you wanted to do a process.
I'm sorry, fast mode?
So there's fast mode and slow mode.
Of course there is.
So fast mode uses all the processor time to do processing.
Right. Probably don't get
slow
any screen
mode,
updates.
none at all. Slow mode splits that up.
Okay.
So you get screen updates. So games, of course, ran in slow mode.
Right.
Which literally just divided the time down a little bit is all it really did. It didn't do it even a lot. So it didn't make a huge difference. But if you were going to do something like you were going to calculate pi out to like 2,000 digits or something like that, which I don't think this would actually do
Right.
it. But if you were to make some like large calculations, you would run it in fast mode because you don't really need to see it do that. You just need to see the answer.
Right.
So it would run and then, blank the screen as it's running and then turn back on.
Right.
Here's also the funny thing. So if you're going to program it, so instead of going like 10, because in BASIC, it's a 10, then PRINT, it's actually 10, and then like print, poke, all this kind of stuff. That's actually what you do.
That actually makes it easier.
So the numbers are real, and then everything else,
You can just do a quick command drop there.
Well, if you don't, you have to have like Shift P
to
get a P. So if you don't, it's just
Ouch.
print.
I get
and
that
then
though, yeah.
and then so
I'm not gonna lie, this seems like an unpleasant computer to use.
it was. How do I describe the use of this thing? So if
Desperate.
If this was your only option,
Yeah, that's valid.
you would consider an abacus.
Mm-hmm.
So
You would consider an app. Took me a second there.
If this was $50, what was your lowest price, say, actual computer of the same time frame?
Probably a Commodore 120 or Commodore, not 120, Commodore VIC 20 maybe, or in the US.
It's an odd timeline.
It really is. So this thing came out 80 what? Let me get the date wrong.
Came out in England in 81.
Yeah.
And probably here thereafter.
Yeah, here it hit just a few months later. So probably
it was discontinued in 84, so it lived in a similar time frame to the VIC 20.
It really did.
Yeah.
So the VIC 20, even though this was cheaper than the VIC 20.
No. Yeah,
the VIC 20 was so much more
It ran about $90 in mid 83, the VIC did. And it was more computer. So
by a large margin. But the funny thing is, like, the amount of RAM, if you put one of these cartridges on there, the RAM cartridges, this thing would actually have more RAM than a VIC-20.
Right, like you loaded bigger program in it.
But the VIC-20 had a few, like, neat things, like, color, and sound,
Yeah.
and a keyboard that didn't make you want to, like,
Did have a nice keyboard. So.
hurt yourself trying to play, trying to run this thing. But, so there were people who modded these. And they would mod these by putting real keyboards on them.
Oh.
Which can be done.
That would be useful.
So that's the setup right there. Yeah. And here's the funny thing. Here's the book out of it.
Yeah.
The book out of that picture.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, if you hooked one of these in to your TV or hooked it up to your TV and you had the audio up, you'd just hear this buzzing noise and you'd be like, something's wrong with it. So, no, there's no sound. You might as well just turn it off.
Right.
So there are some people who take these and actually see what they can do by modding them. And they've come up with some pretty nifty things. There are people who've actually put sound cards in these things.
Oh, neat.
There's some people who realize...
port on the back?
Well, no, they build it into it and they'd add ports onto this. They just drill holes. But here's the funny thing. Some people figured they actually can use the earphone and have the, becomes effectively a single voice square wave generator.
Oh, neat.
Because that actually will work. So they've been able to make sort of audio out of the thing. It's kind of funny, really, how these are now more expensive than they were when they finally went out. If you just take $50, $50. Because these are now being sought after. But I'm telling you, if you use one of these, other than the fact that I just want to really have this up on a shelf because it would look really neat and really and show you guys a little bit of stuff.
Collectible item, really.
It's more of a collectible item. It is not something you want to actually use.
No. It seems like it was more a learning tool than anything.
It's really what it was designed for. And the fact that they actually had some games, though. Like, they had early 3D games for this.
Mm-hmm.
Like walking around a maze, being attacked by something. And they actually had that.
Right.
Which is amazing they were able to get any of that to work at all, because you kind of laugh at it because you start thinking, okay, well, yeah, I mean, it's probably got, could do sprites, all this kind of stuff. No, there's no sprites. No. There's no video card in this thing. No video chip at all. And it met its goal, which was to get a computer that you could own and actually write code for.
How small it is.
Dirt cheap.
We thought we'd show you a little bit of the operation of the ZX81. So I took the ZX81 from Nathan and got it hooked up, and, well, the display wasn't being captured very well. Plus, unfortunately, the enter key was not working, so you can't really program one of these without enter key, or I guess the new line key as it's called on these little ZX81 computers. So we'll show you the basics of operation in an emulator online here that you can access at zx81stuff.org.uk. And it does replicate the functionality of the computer just fine. So as you can see here on screen, there's macros. So you wouldn't type out print to type a print command in BASIC. You actually just hit the letter P. The K cursor means the ZX81 is expecting a keyword. So we hit print, the P, and it just types print for us. Now, we can just, at this point, if you have an L, you can just type in text for the command. So we've shifted and given, the quotes for our next portion. We'll go hello, or will we? We have to shift lock, because that's not hello. Do a little hello world here. Timmy can't spell. What else is new? World. Just enter new line. It'll immediately execute the program. Hello world 00. Okay, let's enter new line again. Brings us back to our keyword cursor. This time we'll put in a line number. And let's make a loop. Let's just do this. 4. See, I'm already messing up. It's difficult when you're used to typing these things out. X shift equals 1, 2, oh, I don't know, 15. Let's see if I hold 15 lines. New line. Showing S for syntax error. That means we made a mistake. All right, let's see what we've done here. We'll back this up. Oh, I know what we did. I made the mistake of typing in the word 2 when you've got to use the macro, or else it will not work. So equals 1 space, I guess. Where's 2 at? Shift 4. Then we can type 15. There, it took it, see? Even with an extra space there. It's just a picky little box. So let's do number 20. It uses kind of a typical line basic. And we'll print something 15 times. With this emulator, you can type it in too, but we'll want to do it the legit way just to experience it the way it was. And to be honest, I don't like it. So can't talk and type. Good grief. Okay. There's a program up there. Let's do line 30. Where's next? Right here. Next, X. New line. And it took that. Now you just hit R for run. And we should. There we go. Anyway, that's some basics on how you can use this machine. For simple programming, of course, there's games you can load right here in this emulator as well. So you might want to check that out if you want to experience how this little computer worked. It's a very interesting little implementation. And neat because you could build it as a kid.
Well, I think it's time for Echoes from the Asylum. What do you think, Justin?
The crazy thing I have to say this week.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the YouTube comments, we've got one this week on memorable ham radio conversations. That was a fun one.
Oh, yeah. That was a COVID one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Or we shot it on Zoom because it was after Christmas or something. But from Agrophobic Adam. Agrophobic Adam writes, I haven't had my license quite a year yet, and my favorite contact with a 25-watt 2-meter radio was from Middle Tennessee to Tempe, Arizona, with a gentleman who was on a soda event. KO4 HBCs writes 7-3 to us. So, nice. Yep, that's a cool one. That's neat. A lot like Nathan's Indy to Texas one he's talked about a few times with us. Yeah. So that's neat.
Well, Indy to Texas to...
Yeah, all over the country.
Canada.
Yeah.
Which was just weird.
Ontario or somewhere?
Yeah, guy was going... I wish I had that written... I did actually write it down, but it's just long gone.
Somewhere buried or gone.
Very gone, probably, but yeah.
And then on... the Texas Instruments Speak and Read video. We need to do more digital toys on the channel. You know, I bought a Simon the other day.
Yeah.
First gen, you were there, a first gen Simon. It works. I figured out later it had batteries in it.
No kidding.
It just is like good as new.
They weren't like
I think they put batteries in it to sell it so you can test it. I just never turned it on. So yeah.
How fun.
It's fun for 5 minutes like all Simons.
We should have a rousing game of Simon.
We actually should.
I feel like this was good for 5 minutes.
So yeah, it's not real exciting, but it's cool looking.
Yeah.
So Teresa Lynn Whalen writes, I had all three when I was little, lost them, but like to buy them again. So talking about the Speak and Read, the Speak and Spell, and the
Speak and Math.
Speak and Math.
Well, if you want to speak and spell, you're going to have to pony up some money.
Yeah, those are the hot item of the day.
They sure are.
Yeah. Yeah, we enjoyed that. That was a fun episode. So Oh,
That's really cool. That you had all three
I
of
need
them.
to fix this mic stand too.
yeah, he's floating away on you again, huh?
Well,
do you remember the episode where we had the overhead mic and it kept floating down?
Yes.
It's really fun to speed that one up and watch it. It's like,
Oh, son of a- yeah. This poor stand has seen better days.
yeah. So be sure to leave comments on our videos if you'd like
Yeah.
to be featured in Echoes from the Asylum. As always, you don't get to pick them, but if you make a good comment, there's a good chance we'll hit it.
Oh, yeah.
Till we can't keep up. At this point, you guys are making plenty of comments. Be sure to make as many as you want. So, phew. Well, you know what? There's still guys out taking ham tests, and they're
That's
still
good.
passing.
That's good too.
So that means,
That can only mean one thing.
yeah, we got somebody to
You've been microwaving
ride those
the head?
waves in. Yeah, a little bit.
Dude, welcome to the waves.
That segment of the show where we welcome you to the hobby if you are so brave as to pass that 35-question test. This week, we welcome Kilo October 4 Tango Golf Hotel, KO4TGH.
Wow.
Chris
October.
Wilson of Maryville, Tennessee, or as Dave Ramsey says at Merville. Merville, Tennessee. He's a technician. He had a whole discussion once about that on an episode. That's how I remember it. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. So, welcome to the hobby, Chris, in the great state of Tennessee. Very
Indeed.
awesome. So,
Been there many times.
Yeah.
Beautiful place.
yeah.
Been there a couple of times.
I think
Not
I'm going
many.
to go again pretty soon, actually. So,
That sounds like
yeah.
fun.
I would like to. We go there about
Couple times a year, don't you?
once a year here lately.
Yeah. So,
Down Sevierville and
I think I've only been once.
how severe?
Been through it a couple of times.
Gatlinburg's.
but
I love Gatlinburg. I have to admit, it's crowded, but it's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Well, fellers, I think that's it for this episode. It's a fine computer you got. So,
Thanks.
Yeah. Till next time, I'm Timmy,
I'm Justin.
I'm Nathan.
and this is Three Old Tech Dudes.
See you later.
Thanks for hanging out with us here on Three Old Tech Dudes. Please subscribe to us here on YouTube for more tech old and new, tinkering at the workbench, repairs, ham radio, electronics, computers, and more. Please like this video and share 3OTD with your friends to help us grow the channel. We tweet at 3 Old Tech Dudes 1 on Twitter, and you can keep up with us on Facebook. Just search for 3OTD and look for our logo. Thanks so much for watching.